Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to go over the trades that we took today, as well as the game plan going into tomorrow and what we're going to look for. So, going into today, this is what we looked like when we go to the 30-minute here. As you guys know, this tells us the trend in the market and pretty much what way we want to be focusing on. So, if we pull up the puts really quickly, this is the wrong contract. If we pull up the 635 puts, this is what we ended up looking like. So yesterday at the close, I told you guys we ended up hitting this resistance point on the 30-minute. Told you guys this is a major point, a major pivot point. So pretty much, if this ended up breaking and crossing, the market would be bearish. But since it ended up rejecting the 50, the market remains neutral because neither side has crossed. We have this 10 SMA below the 50. When we have trend, the 10 SMA is above the 50. So in this little area over here, the market was trending bearish, and you guys know we ended up catching a really good short that day. And then we ended up catching a really nice long yesterday because we lost the trend and moved to the upside. And then going into today, it was a completely neutral market, and we ended up seeing a little bit of a rip just because the bears ended up losing the trend. This chart went negative, and we rejected that key spot. And since we did end up going neutral, I ended up taking a trade off of this 30-minute off of the put side. So I actually took a loss today, and I'm gonna go over exactly what happened. So if we pull up the 30-minute here, this is the wrong contract, it's supposed to be this one. So if we pull up the 30-minute, we ended up popping up into this resistance here on the call side. So usually when we go from one trend to a neutral market and test the 50 SMA on the opposite side of the premium, we end up getting some sort of rejection off of that 50 initially, because it's pretty rare that we go from one trend straight to another without seeing some sort of pullback. And that's why I ended up playing this short here off of the 50. So we ended up popping up to this 50 SMA right here around 11 o'clock, ended up shorting, and I ended up stopping out for 25 points. And I told the Discord I was going later size on this just because for these types of trades, I'm looking for a really decently sized move off the 50, because just like this move here on the call side right here, you can see what happens when we do get that rejection here. We end up rejecting 50, and we got a massive bounce out of it. So that's pretty much the plan for these types of trades off the 30-minute. Is we're expecting a really decently sized move, at least like 70-80 points, I'd say, or like 60 to 80 points on NQ. I would go for on this type of trade because it's a major pivot point. We end up rejecting that usually marks a bottom or a top. In this case, it'd be a top because it's the call side. But yeah, it was a pretty simple trade. All I was looking for was to see a rejection off of the 30-minute, which didn't end up happening, and we stopped out. I mean, it's simple as that. It ended up chopping around a little bit. I was in profit, out of profit, came down a little bit. I think I was down like 40 points at one point, and then came back to 25 points. Then I'm like, all right. I was watching the 0DT chart, and I'm like, okay, if it doesn't break below the 10 SMA, I'm going to pull up the 0DTs really quickly. But if we pull up this chart here, 645s, you can see this 0DT chart is super clean. I mean, this is a really clean chart, but with how we were today, I was just not that interested in longing, because even though the calls ended up crossing right here, this is a trade right off of open that I wasn't taking. These big trade, I mean, this candle's all the way at 0.98, and SMAs are all the way down here. Like, I'm not taking this cross. And then we did end up getting this reclaim. Again, I didn't like it because we did have that overhead resistance on the 30-minute. So I stayed out. It did end up playing out, but it's just not a trade that I liked, and the probability on the trade wasn't great. So even though it did work out, I'm still completely fine in not taking that trade, because I know that wasn't a really good trade to take in the first place. So there's gonna be times where that happens, where there's a trade that just because we're have this reclaim right here, even though the 30-minute is at a key point that it's going to break the 50 and run, but that's not a trade I want to be taking. The probability isn't that great. I took my chances on the short side. I'm pretty sure I ended up stopping out. I forget what time I ended up stopping out at, but I think it was on one of these dips here to the 10 SMA. I think it was actually this one right here. Yeah, I think it was actually this one, because I'm like, okay, if it doesn't break below the 10 here, I'm just gonna get out, because I wanted to see it break. I mean, we were kind of hovering around the 50 for a while, and usually when it does that, it just breaks it, and that's what ended up happening. So yeah, that's the only trade I took today. I mean, days like today, there wasn't much opportunity. I mean, this reclaim, to me, not a good trade to take. The 30-minute reject was a trade you could take because, again, like I went over, it's the first time we're testing that 50 in a neutral market, and then on top of that, the 50 SMA was sloped down quite a bit. So I was taking my chances, 25-point loss. That's really small. And I also, like I said, I was on that trade with lighter size to begin with. So, even if I did take like a 50, 60-point loss, it was very minimal because I was sized a little bit less. And that's what I like to do in neutral markets. When market's not in my favor, which means we have no trend, I'm not going to be placing like size on my trade. That's just how I like going about it. Because when we have that trend, a lot of like high confidence trades, when we do have that trend and when we have that 30-minute aligned with the 0DT chart. Like today, it was two different stories on the 0-day chart. We had the calls cross and the 30-minute was at a key spot. So, I was going based off the higher time frame and what we looked like and what was more likely to happen. So I didn't play the 0DT chart and I played the 30-minute and was looking for a rejection. Didn't get it, took a loss, completely fine with that. And then, we just ended up trending higher the rest of the day. So really not much opportunity besides that 30-minute 50 reject. All these other trade like reclaims was not something I was interested in. But yeah, I mean, if you guys are in the Discord, like I'm going to be giving out like quality trades. Like today's trade, I wouldn't say is an A+ setup because it's just a rejection off the 30-minute. I'd say it's like a A- or like a A or B trade. I mean, like really, it's just a one confluence type of thing. So that's why when we get multiple confluences, when the 30-minute and the 0-day chart lines up together, that's the A+ setup right there. When we only have one of those two things, then I'd say it'd be more so not a bad trade, but it's a good trade to take still. It's still like I've taken the 30-minute 50 reject plenty of times, worked out plenty of times. Sometimes it's not. That's just how it goes, and that was that. So that's what we did today for SPY. And when we pull up the 30-minute here tomorrow, we're gonna have new contracts. So we're actually gonna have, I think, probably the 650s if I had a guess. I don't even know if I have them, or 655s possibly. If we pull up the 30-minute here on these, you can see what's going on. 10 SMAs crossing the 50. 50 is a little sloped up, tiny bit flat, but again, we have news before open, so this chart really doesn't mean anything. I always tell people this in Discord, like even though this chart crossed, I'm not considering this a bullish market yet because there's key news before open, so that could change everything. This chart right here, irrelevant if we end up not having that big of a move and the market remains bullish, then obviously okay, then we are officially bullish. But when there's a big news event before open and we get this little cross before the close, it's not something significant in my opinion. And then we also have that 1 hour 50, 2 hour 50s down quite a bit. So it really all depends on news tomorrow. If we open green and the 30-minute ends up curling up a lot, then we're gonna be bullish. I'm only focused on the long side, and then we're gonna be looking for either call cross, which I feel like the calls will already be crossed, or we get a dip to the 50, you could buy the 50 dip, or you wait for a reclaim of the 10. Personally, I'm probably going to be waiting for the reclaim of the 10. That's just what I've been doing a lot recently. 50 dips haven't been working out as good on the 0DTs, so having that extra confluence or conviction, not conviction, but the extra confirmation, that's what I was looking for in the trade when we get the reclaim of the 10. So that's what I'm going to be looking for tomorrow. If for some reason we gap down quite a bit and this chart goes negative, there's probably going to be a put cross that we're going to be looking to take, or 10 SMA reclaim on the puts, because you guys know if we're not in a trending market, not buying the 50 dip, more so just been buying the 10 SMA reclaims when we get them. Like today wasn't a day I wanted to do it just because of that support on the 30-minute, but that's what I'm gonna be looking for tomorrow. And then when we even pull up the monthly contracts here on the daily, actually, what is this chart? This is not the right chart. Let me find the monthlies really quickly, because again, I told you guys this is gonna take a couple days to kind of figure out what's exactly gonna happen. So you can see, I told you guys we're gonna need a few days, because look what happened. We end up popping right back above the 50 SMA, 10 SMAs right there. I mean, this chart really doesn't tell me too much. All that I know is that it's not too bearish. I mean, we ended up getting back above the 10, the 50, or at the 50 at least. So this chart didn't go negative yet. Every time we've been breaking below the 50, we've been slamming right back up. So again, this is like a couple day process usually, and to see where we're actually going. And we're either gonna watch for the chart to 10 SMA cross below the 50, or we're gonna like I said, break above this 10 SMA in the 50, which we already broke above the 50. But if this chart could straighten out a little bit and look a little bit better, maybe we'll see some upsides. But this chart doesn't tell me too much. We're gonna have to be more focused on the weekly charts and 30-minute charts to kind of gauge where we're gonna go. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what we did today. Super small loss. Other than that, didn't take any other trades. And then tomorrow, like I said, you just gotta see what news is like in the morning and where exactly we open at, because there's gonna be two sides. We're gonna get a fat dump, or we're gonna hold the 30-minute trend, rip higher, and it's just a game of waiting. I mean, there's 2 scenarios to each day usually, and we could play either side, and that's a great thing about the system. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got. If you guys enjoyed, drop a sub. If you guys want to learn, join Discord down below. But yeah, I'm out. Peace.